Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cactus Patch. I'm your host, Glitch Cactus, but you can call me Cactus. My mic was not connected. We love OBS issues. Regardless, we are here to discuss LUTI Season 16. And to discuss this upcoming season, we have Toasty. Toasty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain.
All right, what do we got lined up for today? I know there's a lot of questions, but
There are. So we'll start off with probably my most favorite one I love asking is how did you get into Splatoon? What drew you to this game?
ooh,
When did you get into it? What game? What series? Like, take me there.
yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So I've actually been playing Splatoon ever since Splatoon 1. I got my Wii U a couple years after the game released, so I wasn't in the competitive scene during that like massive surge of popularity
Mhm.
during the Splatoon 1 like competitive scene. But then after Splatoon 2 released, I was still playing Splatoon 1 for like a year or two. And then finally in like 2019, I finally got my Switch from Costco. And
I love
first
that.
game I got frame one was Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch. So, and then after that, I saw like the random like Nintendo open tournaments and found a group of people and eventually like knew somebody who wanted to like play in a tournament and then like found other things through Battlefy. So like that was kind of like my main entryway into Splatoon.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you like already know of Battlefy previously, or was like you just
No,
happened to come across it?
I just happened to come across it. I was a total baby. It was a very shocking experience, but it was great.
I can imagine. So those like Nintendo Open tournaments was like those were kind of like your intro to comp in a sense.
Yeah, because I like joined a team and then I was like, oh shoot, there's like so many people playing. Like, because I'd always like just played with my friends because I didn't realize like how much more there was to the scene.
Yeah.
So that was kind of just like my main way. And then I was like, oh shoot, there's low ink. Hey, let's like do this. And then we ran it back and eventually found everything else. And now we're here.
Have you ever won a tournament before?
Yes.
Ooh.
Actually, I won, I think it was CCA season two.
Oh, that's
And then,
awesome.
yeah. And then we won whatever the summer invitational following that season was.
Hmm.
So but I was getting like hard carried by Basil. So huge shout outs to Basil for that one. But that is my only tournament wins in the community.
Hey, that's pretty cool though. So say you have a win under your belt. It's pretty dope.
It is. It is.
Well, what did you mean? I'm curious.
In Splatoon 2, I was in jail. I was
Oh no.
every time I like stepped foot on the Monopoly board, I immediately got thrown in armor jail. So I was
Oh.
a junior mate. No, by choice, I played junior in Splatoon 2 and actually loved it.
Okay.
So it was jail by choice for that one. And then once 3 released, I started picking up I think it was Shot and Splash for a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't play too many tournaments in Splatoon 3 just because I knew like my own schedule and my team. Like I wanted to like be better, but like my team schedule and everything,
Hmm.
it didn't really work out that well. So we all went separate ways. And then after that, I just started full head diving into TOing because at that point I was kind of like halfway in the door, halfway out the door, and I was just kind of like if I want to TO, which I wanted to at that point in time, I needed to fully commit to it, and
Hmm.
that's what I did. And now we're here with Ludi's somehow.
Yeah.
So
After all this lifespan so far of Splatoon 3.
exactly, yeah.
Do you still play Splatoon 3 out of curiosity, or just like very casually, I
Ooh,
imagine? Or have you
I
not touched the
will,
game
I
since?
will, I will open the game from time to time. I don't know when the last time I actually like queued up for anything and like played was because like anytime I play, I feel like it's just at a LAN to just test setups and whatnot.
Fair,
But
fair.
I will hop in open occasionally, just like with friends for fun. But
Yeah.
I haven't entered into a tournament. Oddly enough, with Ludi being on Sender.ink, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I have never played in a tournament on Sender.ink. I've never used that platform as a user. I've
Oh,
just always used
interesting.
it from the admin side. So that's kind of my point of view. And I think that's like both good, but also not great because then I I like am familiar with like what the players can see and what happens, but I haven't actually fully experienced that within an event myself. So
Yeah.
that'll definitely be interesting.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so there's always room then for you to have one day just happen to play in
Yeah,
some new
I'll just have to
tournament.
enter into a tournament just to do that.
One that you're not TOing, so you can get the full player experience.
Yeah. Yeah, because with the organization, like the org structure on Sunny.Inc., like I'm technically a TO in like all of the IPL events. So it's like if
Mhm.
I sign up for SOS, I'm technically still a TO for that. So it's a little funky.
Yeah,
So
you're
I'll
still
have
gonna
to
have like that TO screen POV.
the little badge to fear
Yeah.
me badge in the chat.
They'll think something's wrong. It's like, no, I'm actually just playing. I'm playing this, I swear.
Exactly. So I'll have to pick the controllers back up one day and do that.
Yeah, maybe sometime before Splatoon 4, or maybe during Splatoon 4. Who knows, right?
We'll see.
So what drew you to TOing in the first place?
Um, I think I was playing. It was either Swim or Sink or Low Ink. It was definitely an IPL event though, and I just
Mhm.
kind of like realized like, oh, this is kind of like cool what they do, and it's just something that I always wanted to help like be a part of some kind of community and actually make some sort of impact.
Yeah.
So I was playing in that event. I'm like, oh, they like need more people to kind of like watch over everything. So that was my initial like mind thought bubble thingy. I don't know what word to use for that, but um, yeah, I applied to SOS, and Sky and Grace brought me on board and taught me the ropes, and then made my way from there. I could tell you the entire story of like how I got to where I am if you want, but I'm sure we'll kind of hint on some of that in the later questions too.
Yeah. I mean, it's entirely up to you, like whatever you feel like, tossing out whenever. When was this so this is during Splatoon 2 when you started TOing?
Yeah, so that was back in, I wrote it down here somewhere. I think it was 2021, 2022, that time frame right around
Okay.
then.
Yeah.
And then so that was still like before Splatoon 2 was technically dead. Like there were still a
Mhm.
few patches after that and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, so and then after that, I started getting into more the production side of things because they were down a streamer and needed somebody.
Mhm.
Um, that was 2021 actually. So yeah, I joined Swimmer Sync staff back in 2020. Sorry, um, but then started doing streaming in 2021. Eventually made my way through IPL production, or not, yeah, the production side of IPL, and Devin and Level One was like desperate for somebody to go to the Big House 10. So that was my first LAN that I ever staffed.
Oh,
So it was just
cool.
me and Devin behind the PC, holding the fort down at Big House 10. And then after that, I have kind of just been in between every role in the scene ever since then because of my experience within production and tournament organization. So after all that um, came Super Jump. So I started to help stream that when we initially had waves back in like Super Jump 1 and Super Jump 2.
Mhm.
I was streaming, I think it was the morning wave. So that's kind of what brought me into some of the major events after that. And then MIT was looking for some help with their major Stormbreak, and that's kind of what sparked everything, I think. So they brought me on board, and then I kind of just started doing my thing and came up with books on books of bracket formats because we had no idea what the registration
Yeah.
entry was going to look like. Um, and then ever since then, I've kind of just been in that kind of mindset of looking towards major events and kind of help supporting those in that way because they kind of need a different level of attention than
Mhm.
just kind of your weekly because there's so much going on behind like the marketing aspect. Commentators and all of that lineup is going to be completely different because you can actually pour a lot more time into stuff like commentary documentation
Mhm.
and prize pools and branding for your stream and whatnot. So that's kind of how I got into TOing and how I kind of got here. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You did mention that Big House was like your first land TOing. Have you been to lands before that, just as like a either player or a spectator?
I played in Riptide 2022, but oddly enough, I was volunteering most of the time.
Oh.
So I was online support staff, not support staff, but helping to support like the stream for Riptide 2021.
Mhm.
And then that's kind of what sparked my interest. So
Oh, okay,
then I
cool.
convinced that old team of mine to make their way into Riptide, and that was really cool to be able to kind of like meet everyone and understand how like big the community actually can be and how much it can actually impact things. So it's really cool. And then that's the only LAN I ever played in. Ever since then, I've just been helping out. But I know you said TO Big House. I don't actually TO at the LANs, even though it seems like I do a lot of the work with
Mhm.
like me running around with my iPad and whatnot up on stage. So if you have ever been at a LAN and there's some little iPad kid gremlin running around on stage, that was probably me.
So
So
are you
that
more of like
was
a coordinator then really when you like help out at these events?
Yeah, so what my official role is a stage manager, but
Okay.
I'm basically the liaison between the tournament organization, which is going to be Rays or Magic, or Magic is no longer TOing, but
Mhm. Yeah, I know.
Kraken or any of those
Sad
guys
days.
running like actually behind the desk, and then
Yeah.
the production table in the back, because it's so hard for our technical director and anybody else back there to actually move around and get anything done. So that's kind of what that role allows me to do, is not only manage the setups on stage, but also be that point of contact in between the two teams, so that way we can make sure that we're running things smoothly.
Okay. Nice. And did you already have basically what I'm trying to ask is have you had experience doing this stuff before or was this like all new and you just like decided just to try it?
Uh, Production I've technically been doing since like high school. I think
Oh,
my
okay.
like freshman sophomore year of high school, I was helping out with some of the basketball and football games.
Well, that's dope.
So I kind of like had some experience and some knowledge of that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Besides that, it was a lot of just like learning as you go.
Yeah, especially for Splatoon. Speaking of learning as you go, I will never forget the one night that we ran at Riptide 2022 when Splatoon 3 first released, the
Mhm.
day of tournament. It was me and Inkfair against the world trying to figure out how the hell the spectator controls worked. We were sitting up there in the
Right.
venue until like 3 a.m. Nobody else was there. Everyone else had been kicked out. And we were just like, oh gosh, like how is this going to work? Because we didn't know what the code was to get into land mode. We didn't know how spectator mode worked because we didn't know how to get into that map. I don't think was in the first release. I think they like put a patch out like the same day or something
Mhm.
that added that. But
That's right. I remember because
yeah,
I attended. I just remember like hearing the struggle of like because people could sign up for it and just like for fun, and I just remember having like just weirdest random memory of just a table and everyone just around it being like, "How does this work?"
yeah. And never again. That's never happening again. So if you were there, you were there. If you weren't,
To be
tough
glad
luck.
you weren't.
Yeah, the amount of delays was crazy, but we won't get into that.
Hope Splatoon 4 does not release during a major. If it does, sorry, but we're sticking to Splatoon 3 until the weekend's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've been TOing for about 2, 3-ish, almost 4 years now. What would you say are some like highlights for you as a TO in the Splatoon community?
Yeah. Some highlights for sure are going to be able, or like getting flown out to lands. I don't think there's like another level of kind of honor that you can have
Hmm.
in the community, like at least on the staff side, other than being invited to help out with these in-person events. Um, so I think that's going to be like my like tier one highlight is going to be Genesis. I was sitting there in the second row of Melee finals on day 3. I didn't have anything to do, and it was like me, Rissa, Magic, and like we're just all like having fun, enjoying the
Hmm.
vibes. So it's really cool to be able to kind of have been able to foster a team like that and be able to get all the stuff done that we do. And then I think, oh, besides that,
Hmm.
um, probably my other favorite highlight as just a tournament organizer was
Hmm.
creating the modern double elimination pools format that we see in a lot of events.
Oh,
So
okay.
following Stormbreak, that's where that initial idea came from. Um, And in my own opinion, and I've talked to some high level players, and they also agree,
Mm-hmm.
it's the most effective format for a day one pools because it gets as accurate as you can bracket placements in the least amount of time. Since that top one seed team is likely only going to have 3 or 4 games during that first day,
Mm-hmm.
and that second, third, and fourth seed have like that inter-pool relationship, so they go into that redemption stage and they're able to kind of mix that around, and we're able to have a hyper competitive top 16 bracket on the final day with best of 5 sets. And that was the biggest point of feedback that I got, was having best of 5 sets in that alpha level bracket, even in losers,
Mm-hmm.
is huge, because a lot of teams would do so much better during games 3, 4, and 5 and actually be able to reverse sweep their way into a further round of losers.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. So that came out of the multiple different like books you were able to create of
Yeah.
of bracketing
Yeah.
and things like that.
Too many hours were just spent looking at challenge and creating dummy brackets on StartGG to test out all these progressions. So yeah,
I mean, it
I
proved
couldn't have
worth it
done that
though.
without KBot and Magic though. So props to them for helping me out to figure that out. But yeah, I think we're starting to see it at a lot of lands. It was at Low Tide City in 2024. It was supposed to be at Riptide.
Hmm.
Then there was a last minute change to the format that wasn't super well communicated,
Hmm.
and so there was a little bit of confusion there. But
I imagine if it
we should see
changes,
this later.
yeah, I
What?
imagine if it changes, is that like just due to like team signups, I imagine things like that, like
Uh,
team numbers.
so there's 8 pools within the format, so that way you feed into a top 16. So you just
Okay, yeah,
have half as many pools as you want your bracket size to be. You can also go up to like 16 pools for a top 32. But the only thing that fluctuates is the size of that pool.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
it just changes how many rounds you have in the first day, which
Okay.
is really good because then that also can scale with how many brackets you end up having. So you just have like a bracket for each round of losers that gets eliminated.
Oh, nice.
Or you
Okay.
can even like feed 2 rounds of losers into a bracket. So
Oh, that's
it's
dope.
super flexible, super great, and good for a huge scale of teams.
I'm about to say, I see why it's like such a peak bracket. It's such a peak format.
Yeah, because it takes up all the stuff that like round robin would just add so many hours, and same thing with Swiss with all the downtime that you have. So,
Yeah.
but we're not here to talk about bracket formats.
Oh, it's so cool to learn though. Like that's awesome. Was there anything else like you were able like in your time as like as part of staff like have created besides just like obviously a really good format that a lot of lands are using in online tournaments? Like, was there anything else that like you yourself have been able to implement into the scene that's really helped, or if it's just for fun?
Something, yeah, actually. So something that I've been working on just for fun is like a Google Sheets version of Swiss. So that way
Okay.
it's just like predictive and you can see the matches ahead of time. That way you can get them started before having to like actually wait out that like hour-long waiting period that you might at a land like that. So
Yeah.
that we might see at a land in the future if they ever have to run Swiss, but ideally they won't. Something else that has been a huge help to LUTI has been the updated LUTI seating sheet.
Hmm.
So it is incredibly powerful and has a lot of tools to be able to find team results and be able to organize and sort teams by like the Sendo seating power that is determined by your matchmaking and placements history.
Hmm.
So it gives our seating council a huge, huge advantage and eliminates a process that initially would have taken like even 3 or 4 days out of the entire week that we normally give our seating
Yeah.
council to seed. And that step is just already done. So they don't even have to think about sorting all the teams. So
Oh
it's
wow.
huge because they get links to previous results. So like Speed Ladder and Flutie, they're able to get all that information just in the sheet. They don't have to go anywhere for it. So it's it's crazy,
I was
but
about to say,
it's
that's
really
gotta be
cool and
so nice. That saves so much time.
it is. And I'm always trying to work on it to get it to be cleaner and more organized so that way they can I love and appreciate every single person that we have on the seating council and appreciate their time so much. So that was like the least I could do to try and give back some of their time that they're already giving.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So much time to do really anything else that might happen or come up, whether that's
Exactly. Yeah.
Splatoon related or not. Did you have any highlights? And then we'll move more into Ludi questions. I'm just curious. Besides like being part of staff, maybe like either spectating or as a player, any highlights from those eras of your Splatoon career, I guess you could say?
Yeah, as a player, winning CCA was kind of cool, but like again, I was kind of getting carried, but it was
Yeah,
still a lot of
everyone plays
fun.
a part.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool to get like my first experience at, or not my first experience, but be able to kind of be introduced to the collegiate scene in that way. Actually, because I had heard of the Purdue Splatoon Club before I even like applied to Purdue,
Hmm.
and like low key, that was a little bit of a factor in which college I ended up going to, mostly because it was close enough to home where I could like drive if I needed to, but
Yeah.
far enough away where I didn't have to see my parents every weekend.
So fair.
So I think just being a part of that side of the community was um, a highlight for sure. And then as a spectator, I don't know. I feel like just hanging out at lands is just a highlight of my own personal
Yeah.
life, just because it's like there's all these people and I'm doing this much and it's crazy. So I think it's just cool to see everyone or all the teams and players I've been able to impact in a positive way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Those are honestly some fantastic highlights, honestly.
All
So
right.
when did
Should we get
you
into Ludi?
Yeah, let's get into Ludi.
All
So
right.
when did you first start either helping out or just getting right into joining the Ludi staff?
I officially joined Ludi staff summer of 2023,
Hmm.
and that was mostly because of the project that we were planning behind the scenes within IPL.
Hmm.
It ended up falling through, but and we realized that it was just better to run another Ludi season instead of trying to work backwards and try and create a project like what we were looking at. I don't really remember all the details of it. I just remember it was like, oh, we should just run Ludi.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, I'd been able to hop in there, and I just got an invite, and they were like, "Yo, if you want to keep working on this, just head over here." So that's what ended up happening. And then ever since then, I've been kind of helping to make the schedule and run some of the later seasons, which is why we've gotten them in like shorter intervals. Because usually it's just like, do we want to do it? And it's like, eh. And then I just would post out a schedule, and they're like, "That's doable. Okay, let's do it." So that's that's kind of how we get Ludi seasons. Is just, do we have time and energy to do everything all over
Yeah.
again?
No,
So
that makes
that's
sense.
that's your sneak peek.
On how when Ludi runs, when to expect it, whenever they're free.
Yeah, I always find it so funny because they're like, "When's Ludi?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
I forget
Are
when
my
I have
classes going to be a
time.
pain in?
Yeah. Will my classes be over? Do I have to worry about any tests or anything at the time? Like, give me a break.
Yeah. So that's kind of why we've been scheduling between like semesters or summers or stuff like that. It's just because like it works better with our own schedule too.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable because, like, how are you gonna host such a major league, during a time where like a lot of one staff will be busy, so they can't really help out, but also like the players, right? Like a lot of them are gonna be
Yeah.
focused on their schooling or work or whatever it might be, so they might not have the opportunities to. And plus, you also have to think about like the times of where it's like if even if you are all free, what time of year is it? Because if it's summer, a lot of players might just be traveling or doing anything else.
Yeah, summer break and summer vacation got crazy. I remember we got so many reschedule requests during a season that we hosted over the summer that went into like later July, I
Hmm.
think. Just because everyone's like traveling and vacationing, and I know a lot of people in the community are in high school and college and like have to work off that seasonal schedule, but like I didn't realize it was as many as we were actually seeing, but it was
Yeah.
also just like that DivX that season like wasn't the same as what we're looking at right now. So
Yeah.
it's also possible that we were just getting a skewed sample.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Time of year matters so much. I think for now though, I feel like has the past maybe one or two seasons been a little different than that based on like the time of year they've been held. Like I mentioned, there's been less reschedules recently.
Um, I don't know. Last season I think was I don't remember if that one was over the summer or not. I think this is either my second or third season that I'm on staff, so I'm not sure which is which anymore, just because they're seasons are so long. They
Yeah,
take up so
they
much.
just merge in your brain at this point.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, help desk is doing help desk things. Next
Yeah.
day.
What are some challenges that that you usually face when it comes to maybe helping out or run Ludi?
Oh my gosh, people don't read. Like I know that's like the staple like
It's become
canon
yeah.
player experience, but like oh my gosh, if you just like look at the rules, please, I beg. We wrote them for a reason. Like everything you need to know is in there. Like
Yeah.
there are some really good help desk questions, and I like always make sure to like thank and appreciate people's time who like actually come to help desk with actual issues.
Yeah.
But like every like I swear it's like every other post is just like, can we add subs? Like yes.
Yeah.
Like just read the rules. They're there. Um, but I think people also just don't really know about default time being like that's the time you're supposed to play at.
Hmm.
And the reason that scheduling is as chaotic as it can be is because people think that they have to organize a time that week rather than just defaulting at default time.
Yeah.
Which is something I noticed in other leagues, like the Big Esports Conference. So I've been here helping the Purdue Esports program for a little bit. So I've been able to kind of dabble in a couple other titles in different league formats that way.
Okay.
But like they have a set schedule time. You are playing like Overwatch or Thursdays at 8 p.m. every week. And it's like if you need to reschedule, you need to go through this entire lengthy process to change the match time. So I think a lot of people just misinterpret what default time actually is.
Hmm.
And I know some people like play the default time game of chicken where they're like, oh, we can only play at default time. And the other team like can't at all. So like by those terms, technically the other team has to forfeit unless they have a reschedule left.
Hmm.
Um, which is unfortunate, but also I think people need to realize that whenever they deregister, they're registering to play at default time every week. But
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, they would know if they read.
yeah.
But no, it makes sense. Yeah, because like it gives a good like base level of understanding of like, hey, like this time at for this day, like this is when you should try to have your matches, and like if you have the one reschedule you're allowed to have, like by all means, like use it. But as
Yeah.
Popkin says, try not to use it the first week.
Yeah. That I think those are like the two biggest things are just um, people kind of understanding the inner workings of a league.
Hmm.
But then yeah, other than that, I think the other biggest challenge that we were facing before was seating. Was it just took so much time and so much work. But fortunately, we've gotten a lot better at doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Plus, I think you guys like. I mean, I'm not sure, but do you usually like add? I mean, you said you've only been around for like 2 or 3 seasons, but has there been like in the 2 or 3 seasons you've been here, like, are you adding more staff at per season, or is it kind of like some leave and then you have to add some, or is it like sometimes you just don't add anybody because like the people you have are already so good?
yeah. For the seating council, it used to be like a reapply every season kind of thing, which I personally didn't quite understand
Hmm.
the benefit of doing that because you would just have like the same like 6 or 7 people reapplying and it would just be like the same council.
Yeah.
Um, so we changed that to just like if you're on the council, you're on the council, and if you need to leave, then we'll try and find somebody else. But we'll also just have rolling applications. So if there's anybody that we're like, oh, you are solid at seating for this kind of region, for this kind of skill level, like we definitely need some more representation there. That's when I'll personally be looking into seating applications again.
Okay.
So, but right now we have a stacked seating council, and I'm excited to see what kind of work they'll be able to do.
Oh, nice. And I've been nosy and I've been looking at like the teams that have signed up for Ludi so far, and like
Yeah,
I'm already like excited enough as it is. Like just scrolling from the top to even the bottom like portion, because like I when I can I try to tune into the low links and everything, and just seeing the teams that are signed up, I'm just like this is gonna be a very exciting low link or not low link,
yeah.
Ludi.
Div X this season is just stacked. Like,
Yeah,
and
for
I'm
a
not even talking
while.
about like it hasn't been this kind of like powerful in a really long time. I
Hmm.
think just because of it being so intimidating to have to like schedule and do all that. But I think a lot of players are seeing this as a potential opportunity to get more content and play more consistently. And hopefully this will help to support the idea of actual teams within Splatoon instead of
Yes.
just here's Harshy's pickup of the week kind of
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
and dominating SOS again.
I think that's one of my favorite things is that even TOs know about the Hershey pickup mess.
Yeah.
I love when you the minute you said that, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad this is universal. But no,
I
yeah,
love seeing
absolutely.
people play, but like it makes things a lot harder to create content or create more invitational kind of events. But I think the Sendo Q finale has helped support that a little bit. I think just also having LUTI alongside that will really help to support that.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, honestly, like, for the longest time, I feel like within the past maybe year and a half, I'd say, it's been very disheartening in the mid-level to top level scene, especially as a competitor myself, being able to like watch some of these streams and be like, I don't know these quote unquote teams. It's just players that are just a friend group or a competitive group that just change their roster every so often, and
yeah,
then they're winning your weeklies, now they're winning your majors, and it's like, obviously for land it makes sense because like it's a land, but like now when it comes to online, it's like cool, congrats, but like there's like, I think of it from the casual perspective where it's like they're not gonna know who you are. There's no
yeah,
branding here, but like you said, Ludi's an opportunity, and I think with a lot of these teams now looking at Ludi as this chance to make a team and like start creating these what's it called, not storyline, I guess storylines,
yeah.
yeah,
Storylines would be the
storylines.
perfect phrasing for it
So
because
that,
we're able to support these like rivalries should any come up and be able to kind of like foster that in its own way.
yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, plus with a huge surge in players finally starting content too, this is like free content, and free views for you for the taking. What have been some of your favorite parts? Now, this could extend maybe past Ludi itself, because I realized asking specifically for Ludi with like how much time you've been with them is like kind of short. Favorite parts of TOing.
Favorite parts of TOing? Um,
And again, this could be
ooh, good
for
question.
specifically Ludi or it could be overall.
Yeah, I think I'll go with overall for this one because I feel like LUTI is just like it comes and goes in bursts, so
Hmm.
there's no like real consistency there. Just
Yeah.
because it's there's seasons and it's its own thing, and but I feel like I've gotten so much closer with some really great people in the scene who have helped shape myself like personally and professionally. Um, Being able to kind of interact with the commentator scene because they're their own like little cluster of the scene, and I feel like sometimes it's hard to kind of mingle everyone together. But I think just being able to see how everything has affected how I've developed, just like I don't really know how to like explain that in further detail, but like I don't know, I've just like the more I'm around like the good people of the scene, I feel
Hmm.
like I'm just becoming a better person.
Yeah, it's like this the phrase where like one bad apple ruins the bunch, but if you're like kind of twisting that, it's kind of like if you're around like the more good in an area or a scene or a community or whatever it might be, like the better you feel not only as a person but like you feel about other people, because you realize not everyone can be so cruel.
Exactly. And that's kind of like helped my own motivation to like keep pushing for the scene to grow. Like not only in like size, but also just like there are some people in the scene who have really stunned the growth, I think, and created a lot of tension. But
Hmm.
I think when you look at the other, not necessarily the other side of the scene, but when you look at exactly what you were describing, like the how much we've been able to grow and change, I think that just kind of puts things into perspective of like, wow, we are in such a better place now than we were, I don't know, when FM was around and haunting everything, but he's
Yeah,
still lurking in the shadows.
but stays in the shadows, which I think helps.
Yeah.
It's like it's if do you see the like the new like Puss in Boots movie? It feels like that, where it's like
Yeah.
you have
Oh my gosh.
where
Yeah.
it's
That is
like,
a perfect
right?
explanation of everything. Yeah.
Like the death is in the shadows, and like eventually like it's there, but like you're still focusing on the goodness of friendship and like enjoyment of other people that like make you enjoy whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Last Wish, or I think that's Last Wish. Great
Yes.
movie. If you haven't
Yes.
seen it already, like definitely go check that out. And Wild Robot, best animated movie I've seen in a really long time.
I still
And
have
by
to
a
see
really long
that.
time, I mean like the past few years. That movie tore me up. I was, ooh, good
The
movie.
trailers get me in a soft spot, and I'm like, I need to find the time to maybe on my flight. I'll like get a purchase a download just to watch it because it just looks so amazing. Okay, getting off
It's
track.
great.
So those are your favorite parts. What about your slightly not so favorite parts? Now you already said that people not reading the rules, but is there
uh,
anything else that maybe it's just kind of like has a little like hair standing up, like you're irking me.
yeah, there's definitely like some people in the scene who have like again created like tension, and I just don't personally enjoy dealing with them. Um, and with me being on Ludi staff, that's unavoidable a lot of the times. Just
Hmm.
like interacting with some of those individuals, I personally don't care for. Um, but also the amount of like random DMs that I get, they're just like, I'm in class right now. Why do you feel the need to DM me?"
Yeah. Is it always
um,
like TO stuff or is it like
I
just
had
anything?
somebody. It, like personal stuff, totally cool. Like my brother will DM me in class at some point in time, so I'm like, all right, whatever. Like
Yeah.
I'll queue Counter Strike with you tonight, sure.
Yeah.
Um, but like some other stuff is just like it's just general like help desk stuff. Like I don't know. I ended up disabling like all my DMs except for like a few mutual servers that I have with friends and whatnot. But
Yeah.
like I don't know. I feel like this some folks don't understand like a level of privacy that comes along with running some events, and they feel
Hmm.
like that they can just step into anywhere that they want to.
Yeah.
So just also dealing with a lot of people who like think that they're staff and like answer for staff, and a lot of times they end up being incorrect. A few times they're right,
Hmm.
and I appreciate them helping or trying to help, but at the end of the day, I don't want people like making an incorrect decision because they didn't have access to the same resources that staff does. So I,
Yeah. No,
I
that's
think that's
fair.
like some of the not so favorite parts is just dealing with a lot of I won't say incompetence because I want to give credit to people for like giving an honest effort,
Hmm.
but a lot of times I feel like there's what I personally think is common sense that's lacking. So that just always will like irk me a little bit just because like to me it's common sense, but I know the common sense is coming from a different perspective
Yeah.
and experience.
That's fair. Yeah. Makes thinking like they like I don't know, my brain wanted to be like, you know, I guess like I think it's maybe like being just overzealous of like feeling like the answer even sometimes like you might not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But
massive change this time for Ludi. We're
yeah,
on
this
Sendu?
it's huge.
Like wow.
I gotta be honest, I didn't think it would happen. I was literally scrolling through the Ludi staff server the other day. I gotta go find that message again
Yeah,
because
feel
this is
free. Cause
like
like when I remember when I saw the announcement tweet, I had an hour left of work, and then I obviously like tweet post goes live, and I'm just like, what?
yeah,
Like this was like
back
hinted at, like like oh
yeah
what if it happened, and like oh it's happening.
yeah because we had been working with Sendu for a while on it, but
Hmm.
July 10th, 2024 at 1:49 p.m. Eastern, I said honestly I wouldn't want to move to Sendu.inc in the near future for Ludi, so I'm glad we're still on challenge. Um, I ate those words very quickly. Um, back in it was like November. I was talking a little bit to Sendu just about the tournament feature on the platform and what kind of future we would be looking into for features within the platform.
Hmm.
Come December, I asked if we could run Flutie, just Flutie, because
Yeah.
I was very hesitant about running an event that would be spanning over weeks on end and having round timers and everything like that be set up. So just because it's running it essentially it is just running round robin,
Hmm.
but because every set is on a different week, it creates a lot of different technical issues.
Yeah.
Um, so when I asked, "Hey, can we run Flutie?" He said, "Why don't we just run the entirety of Flutie on there?" So that started mid-December, and it initially pushed back our timeline a little bit. We were supposed to announce a few weeks before we actually did. So we're a little bit behind in the season, but I think it ends up working out fine because it actually works a little bit better with most people's spring breaks.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, uh, huge change. I'm so thankful to Sendu for putting in the hours on hours of work and just dealing with dealing with me, um, poking in about different stuff, different bugs, different fixes, and everything else. It's been a huge deal. I think that's really helped our seating council as well because we're able to pull so much more information.
Hmm.
And like I mentioned earlier, we're able to get that seating power off of the platform as well, which is representative of every player's entire match history,
I was gonna say like
for
that has to
ranked
pull in from
tournaments.
somewhere.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the same way that your Sendo power calculates in Sendo queue. So
Hmm.
like you play so many matches and then you get a placement rank.
Yeah.
Um, it basically just gets rid of every season. Like there's no wipe, there's no reset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just calculates from your entire competitive history. And I was looking last night at Swimmer Sync and I saw some teams rank go up from like 1100 points to like 1390 or something like
Wow.
that, which boosted them up so much in the leaderboard that I have internally of just like I have like a little sheet of like if we were only to use the auto seating feature, here's how all the divs would line up. It bumped them up from like div 6 to div 3 or something like that.
That's
It was crazy.
crazy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So if you think that you're just going to be able to like wing it and play in like one or two things, um, it helps. The more you play, the more it helps because the confidence level is definitely going to be higher. So you're going to have a more accurate power.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I honestly the recommendation would be to play in the LUTI seating events because we'll be able to pull a lot of that directly.
Hmm.
Obviously not required, but like
It helps.
definitely is easier
Yeah.
for us to see when people play in those because it's also the most recent. Because like if
Hmm.
you're looking at results from a month ago, you don't know how a roster changed. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And then is like I imagine based on the auto seating from on Sendu's site, you'll be able to kind of break it in at certain numbers by division, or is it going to be like manual still at that point?
A lot of it ends up being manual just because that's divisions are like a cutoff. Only 12 people make it into Div X. And I think a lot of people
Hmm.
still don't quite understand that within the community because they're like, oh, yeah, we play at a Div 6 level. Well, your Div, you didn't register for LUTI, and divs are only significant in the context in which they are placed.
Yeah.
And without the context of your placement, like a team could be Div 7 if 100 extra teams sign up. But because they didn't, they might be bumped up another division because there was enough room to bump more people up into a division.
Got you.
So I think that's a little bit of just misinterpretation from the community, but I feel like a lot of people just also know and they just still use that for like skill estimation, which isn't like inherently bad. It's just like that's not entirely true, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's so. Is there going to be like a? I know when like divs were announced, it was like a div release night, right? Where there was like a live stream and people were like being able to tune in, and there was like some talks about
Yeah.
how it worked and everything. Is that something that will probably be similar again? Because I think there's just a lot of people that are still kind of confused about the process that of everything switching over to Ludi.
Or everything switching over to Sendu.
Or sorry, Sendu. Yeah, my bad.
Um Possibly. I know Elemental like made that in like 2 hours.
That's you know what? Fair props to them.
So it was so scuffed and um we have like a frequently asked questions channel that I feel like a lot of people really overlook and
Hmm.
um that does answer a lot of questions especially for new players and newer players to the scene.
Yeah.
Um I personally, and this is just my own opinion,
Yeah.
I think that the Sendu UI for the league format is going to be very self-explanatory.
Okay.
I could definitely see some people being confused by it by like displaying default time potentially, but
Hmm.
people are still have to schedule their matches if they want to change that. Um, and Fortunately, we have match chats this time.
Okay.
Um, Maps, I believe, are going to be in the UI already, so people won't have to like be confused about that
Yeah.
and have like maps pulled up in the LUTI server and whatnot during their set, so they can just like focus on the UI of Sender.ink
Or
and
like
port score
post
and
them
everything
in
else.
their like group chats they have.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of that.
I know some people like frame one screenshotted some maps and then they like changed like 2 minutes later because we didn't really, or like somebody messed something up and there was like a duplicate map and like some people played it, some people didn't. We're like, so I
Yeah.
think that's just
This should eliminate a
like
lot of that issue.
yeah, because we like roll all the maps at the start of the season. We just release them on a weekly basis. That way people can't get ahead.
Yeah.
Because that has its own problems. Um, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna make my own life a lot easier because that way I don't have to have help desk pulled up while I'm in class. So
Assignments on one tab, LUTI on another.
yeah, I on my iPad I can have like a little pop out window of just like Discord pulled up,
Oh,
which is it's distracting, but it's also good because like I ended up like fidgeting a lot in class, so it's just like I can just mess around with that and still pay attention. So
yeah, and you're
it's
still
good.
doing
It's
something
good.
that's, good for the brain.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
anything else new being tried this season besides obviously this major change to Sendu?
Um, going back, I the seating sheet has changed a little bit to account for those seating powers.
Okay.
There's some concerns I have with using that as like a preliminary sorting because we're still gonna have to like double check all of that because there's no statistical correlation between ranked and unranked power.
Okay.
They're technically from two different populations, and there's not really a great way with how frequently they change in order to like statistically analyze all of that
Hmm.
to have a good like foundational understanding of where a team should actually be, especially if they only play in ranked tournaments, then their unranked power is going to be super low. If they only play in like low ink and skill capped events and never play in an open event, they are not going to have like a decent ranked power unless they play in like Sendoku or something.
That's fair.
So I think that is going to be something that we're going to have to keep a really strong eye on is how accurate that initial sorting is going to be and how much it actually changes when we're like fully seeding everything out and breaking teams up into the different divisions. But I think that's going to be like the other thing that we're going to be trying that's new is just using that as a preliminary sort. But
Hmm.
yeah, we'll have to double check everything and see how everything ends up.
Yeah, just in case. That sounds awesome. That sounds good. Cool. That's like 16 seasons later, like there's still new things to be tried and still ways of improvement.
Yes, I'm very excited for it though. So.
That's awesome. What are some hopes you have for this season?
Oh, hopes I have for this season.
This could be again, this
Just
could
my own
be a
personal
huge range
skill
of
set.
anything. Okay.
Um, before this season, I didn't really know. Like I've used Python and a couple just technical skills before,
Hmm.
just for like data analysis and whatnot. But I had never actually like used an API before, and with this season coming up, I had to force myself how to like learn how to process that and process all the data that we're actually getting from the tournament platform to actually be able to sustain our seating sheet. So that was a huge thing that I had to learn, and I hope that I'm able to like actually use that for our partners. So like LUTI tonight is going to be able to utilize some of that.
Hmm.
I'll be working on a tool so that way they can get live match feeds. So like they can do like pseudo live look-ins on other matches and see anything that's going on in progress. So that way they're saving more time and not having to manually scrape everything. I did
Yeah.
not realize that they were spending hours just like collecting everything. And I'm like, I was telling Falco the other day, and I was just like, dog, you could have just like asked. Like I'm right here. So I think that's something I'm also looking forward to this season is how our partnership with Ludi tonight is gonna pan out, and hopefully they're gonna be able to have a really cool stream and do everything that they want to do.
Yeah, oh my gosh, how could I completely forgot about the LUTI tonight like stream partnership with all of that. Oh, that's gonna be so much fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they're gonna get a lot more powerful tools in the near future, and
That's awesome.
yeah, should be cool.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. Looking at the list of questions I have, it seems to have really done it for the LUTI questions. One of the last questions I do have, though, is there any exciting projects coming up this year that you have that you'd like to share? Like, maybe it could be maybe in person, could be online, could be Splatoon related, could not be Splatoon related.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this transition into Sendu Inc. was going to be like the biggest project, and working with Sendu on how like tournament progressions should actually function within the platform was going to be a major project, so that way we could bring other tournaments like Super Jump onto the platform.
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, a lot of that is going to take a lot more time because of just how nuanced those formats end up being, and progressions out of unfinished stages is going to be a bit complicated. Just to kind of provide some context, within a format like Super Jump, you don't actually play out a full double elimination bracket. A couple matches, like the progression into Alpha and Redemption, are actually like before grand finals and before losers finals and loser semifinals. So you're having predetermined placements progress into brackets from a previously unfinished bracket. So that's going to be taking a lot of time, I think, and hopefully we'll be able to get something done within this year. Um, but unfortunately, those are just going to have to stay on Start GG for the time being.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Um, so I think other than that, I've been getting a little bit into the deadlock scene. I've been working
Okay.
with the college deadlock org, using some of the same tools I created for LUTI, um, basically getting actually like raw metadata from each of their matches and being able to create a stats sheet for their players has been really cool. So that's another project that I've been cooking up, and
Nice.
yeah. Um, I think I'll be going to MomoCon just like for fun. So
Okay,
that's gonna be like
nice.
my first
Yeah.
LAN where I'll just kind of like be there to vibe.
And
So
not actually have to
that's gonna be.
TO or volunteer or anything.
I'll probably volunteer, just like
Ah, there it
it's
is.
Rays
Yeah.
and CK, and like I've known them for so long. Is like, oh, I want to help out with something
Yeah.
like that. But that'll be like the first event where I'm not like totally worn out.
Yeah. Just like
Of
constantly 24/7 in the venue, just making
Yeah,
sure things are working.
yeah, like, oh gosh, those like Riptide weekends and like LAN weekends, I would be getting like 5 hours of sleep max.
Oh my God.
It's
It's like
like,
the entire
well,
weekend or like each night?
oh, each night like
Okay. I guess still
four
lethal
or five
though.
hours usually, because like we'd get there to the venue like 2 hours before the event starts for the day.
Hmm.
Definitely leaving like an hour after anything's done, and then obviously like going out and socializing with people would take up some time too.
Yeah. No,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, but yeah, I think that's most of it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like honestly, this sounds like a pretty exciting year for you, and obviously for the Splatoon community as a whole. Not just of course with LUTI, with advancements in Sendu, but also even land stuff, right? Like we're just constantly moving up. Do you make it actually? Do you have any plans to attend a local at some point?
Um,
I think
I
about it.
they're all so far away from me,
Yeah, I'm for it.
which sucks. I'd love to go to Brooklyn and like one of the New York ones, just because like I'm decent. I think decent friends with Pico and Andy, so it'd be neat to go hang out with them and that squad of people again.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, no current plans. Actually, I did go to Gatorland.
Oh,
I
okay.
went to Gatorland spring of 2024, and that was pretty fun. I played there with Marsh, Tiger, and Soldier,
Okay.
so that was pretty fun. But Marsh's hands were all messed up, so it was kind of just interesting to just kind of play there and hang out, have fun. It
Yeah,
was good.
that's it. That's awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear. Well, with that being said, then that's all the questions I have for you. So I like to give this opportunity to all my guests to, as this is kind of the roundup and conclusion of the episode, to kind of say what you'd like, shout out what you'd like to shout out. Pretty much the floor is yours to say whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, actually, I got a question for you. What are you looking forward to this Ludi season, and what are your like plans for? I know you've been getting into a lot of content creation. Like, what are you
Okay.
thinking about?
You reversed it on me. Uno reverse. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm honestly super excited for all three participating reasons. One, as a spectator, I cannot wait to watch some of these matches. I mean, especially being able to look on Sendo. I think it's like almost 400 plus teams signed up right now. Might be over that at this point.
Yeah, I think it's right under 400. It's getting there though.
Yeah, like just knowing there's
387 right now, but
oh my
not all of them are
gosh.
completed. I
Okay.
will tell you there are a lot of rosters that do not have either 4 people on the roster or
Hmm.
haven't submitted their time zone Google form. So if you
Okay.
aren't on the list of teams in important info, get on that.
Yeah. But yeah, spectator for one is just being able to watch a lot of these matches. I think it's gonna be so hype, exciting through multiple divisions, and that's my favorite part about LUTI tonight too. Is like the multiple streams of different divisions to just see the creativity on a week by week basis, not just like a 1 week basis, depending on like the tournament that's being ran. Another is playing. I do plan to play in this LUTI season with a pickup.
Ooh,
We actually probably need to sign up like tonight. Now that I think about it, I don't
yeah,
think we did
you should
yet.
get on that.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna open Sendu on the background real quick.
Sendu.inc/Ludi. It's great
So
having such a short
that's
URL.
what I say. Like, it's not just like a massive multi-letter number code of like start GGs. Um, So definitely play wise. And then I'm also gonna obviously look to um commentate if I can, and obviously, get maybe myself personal creative ideas of making content around it, right? But like obviously there's content to made if you play in it. I've personally thought about the idea of like um if it's not already in the background ideas already, having like I want to say like I guess like a weekly recap in a sense of like loot
Oh
just
yeah,
just purely looty. Like, hey, these are the matches this week, pure division. Here's who won. Thank you, goodbye. Because I feel like that's cool to just have like a recap for the week just to catch people up who maybe like want to know how this division did or how their friends maybe did or their enemy teams they're like rooting for or maybe against. Um,
yeah.
Obviously, if it falls into place, like there's so many things I have working on in the background, both IRL and just in general, um, with Splatoon stuff that like I don't want to overwork myself, but hey, you never know. Besides that, though, this year, this is definitely one of my most like going to travel years I've ever had. Ever since I think my first LAN, I think in 2021, I think it was Riptide 2021. Um, I've went to almost every major since. And this
I
year's
think I'm
no
in the same
different.
boat. I think the only LAN I missed after Riptide 2022 was Low Tide 2024.
Do you count MomoCon? What last year or the year
Oh,
prior? Does that
oh,
count?
that I also didn't get to.
I
Yeah, that
was
would count.
okay, because I didn't go that one. I think that's the only one I didn't go to was MomoCon. Because like I didn't know it was a thing, and two, by the time it was like the word was spreading around, the bank account was hurting, and I could not make that work so fast. But yeah, I mean, I've obviously Big Dapple's close for me. It's like a 2 hour travel by public transit, so I make that trip up to New York. This weekend I'm attending Chai Shoals in Chicago to compete in their qualifier. Um,
Oh yeah, I'll also be helping out with the finale for that. So
oh, also the
Baku got me
Champion
on board
Showdown.
for the yeah. Baku's got me and
Nice.
Toma on board for that to
Oh,
help
let's
out.
go. Yeah, I mean, I've signed up for Gommel already. Definitely signed up for MomoCon, Riptide obviously as well. Um, I do want to try to make stops to most locals this year if I can later in the year or more spread out. If it makes sense. Like I know like the next closest I probably can do easily is New England. It's like a 5 hour drive, which isn't terrible. I mean, it still sucks, but yeah.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, this is definitely like I say those are most of the, for if not all the things I'm excited for this year. Um, in Splatoon and just in general. I mean, I always question myself
Nice.
how I do it, but hey, we're here, we're trying, we're doing
No,
things.
that's a great list.
So now
I think
Undo,
that's yeah. That was my only question I got for you. But
yeah, no, absolutely. I always appreciate it. Challenge me a little bit. um,
turn the tables.
well, I'm gonna give the mic right back to you. Is there anything else you'd like to add on or anything?
Um, Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
No, I don't think so. I think I'll just shout out Sendu. Huge thanks to the goat for setting everything up for LUTI. Super grateful to all of our current LUTI staff, which is very limited, but we are a strong but and mighty team. So I think those are my shout outs for the mic.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And then I do want to just ask if people want to catch more about you or learn about what you do, or just in general, just follow you, where can we find you?
Oh yeah. I have deleted Twitter. My
Valid.
account is still like there, but I don't touch it anymore because that's just a whole cesspool of
Yeah.
things I don't want to be around. So you can follow me on Blue Sky at toastyspl. No underscores or anything, just toastyspl dot bluesky dot social. So you can catch me there. I post semi frequently. Some of them are like little tidbits of cool information. So like LUTI updates or something just from like a insider perspective, and other posts are just like asks for like, hey, I need this to like test something. So
Hmm.
you'll definitely want to catch me there.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. Well, Toasty, thank you so much for coming on to this episode of the podcast to discuss LUTI and also tell us about yourself. This has been so much fun to speak with you and just be able to not only find out more about you and what you do, but of course, the efforts that you've put in to this community thus far to your Splatoon journey, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And then, with that being said, that's going to do it for us here at the Cactus Patch. I, of course, want to thank all of you for watching and listening on it, and we appreciate it tremendously. And that will do it for us here. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye, everyone.